Hey Lou, it's Coach Gurney here. This is video footage of you pitching, which we're going to watch in slow motion and break down so we can perhaps improve your performance by making some mechanical adjustments. I did show this video to Tom Kohler, and he was impressed. He said you had a good, clean delivery. He did think you were going to want to make some corrections to your move to the plate. Otherwise, runners might be able to take advantage of this delivery. I have a few thoughts that might be good to work on in the next couple months before you're outdoors pitching in big competitive games. And if we can work on these minor things, I think you might see an improvement to your velocity and perhaps even your endurance on the mound. So the first thing I want to point out is how much you sink during your delivery. I've drawn a red line by your shoulders, and we're going to watch for how much you sink as you deliver the pitch. Now keep in mind, Will, you're someone who's over 6 feet tall, and with your arm raised over your head as you deliver the pitch, you're over 7 feet tall. And that's an outstanding height to be delivering a pitch to a batter in a very sharp downward angle. And we don't want to give up that advantage, that downward angle, by sinking down to 6 feet or even 5'8". We want to stay as tall as we can. Knowing that, there are some pitchers who purposely do dip and drive because that's their preferential mode of mechanical delivery. However, someone who's as tall as you may not want to sink down as much as this. So keep an eye on that red line because you drop all the way below it with your head here. So you're sinking a good 12 to 15 inches. The next thing I want to point out is your extension. So there's the red circle. And I think although you have decent extension, I think you can get that ball even further back out towards the center fielder. And I think if you get better extension, you might see improvement in your velocity. This is what we call the flexed bow position, much like an archer releasing an arrow from his bow. You can get back even further in this flexed bow position. Next, Lou, I want to focus in on your stride foot, your landing foot, because your landing foot here is landing slightly closed. It's landing on an angle that's pointed towards the right-handed batter's box. And if you watch any major league pitcher, they typically land with the foot open, pointed directly at the catcher, or even the left-handed batter's box from a right-handed pitcher. But they don't point it typically closed. Lastly, in this finish, you recoil, and it leads to a little bit of a violent finish. So as we see here, you're a little bit off balance. I do love how you get over that front left knee with a flat back finish, but you do recoil here, and you're certainly not in a good fielding position. And I think if we can work on having a more fluid finish, and imagine if you were shooting free throws in a basketball game. After shooting each one, you would have a nice, sound finish, and you wouldn't be unbalanced and all over the place. And I feel like we can improve on that here. So what we're going to do now, Louie, is we're going to back this up, and we're going to watch this full speed so you can see what I'm talking about with that recoil in your finish. So this is you throwing full speed. And you can see there you've got a little too much wasted inertia as you finish your delivery. So keep in mind, these are minor modifications I'm looking for you to work on. Number one, let's try not to sink down so much. Don't give up too much of that downward angle. Two, when we get extension back in the flexed bow position, let's work on getting a little more deeper towards center field with that throwing hand. When we land with our stride foot, let's try and land open and not closed. And lastly, let's try and have a more fluid, sound finish and not recoil. But on the whole, as Tom Kohler mentioned, you have a very good, clean delivery. So keep up the great work, and I'm looking forward to watching you have a fantastic baseball future.